After leaving the corporate 9 to 5 grind, I became the boss of my own spiritual business, helping others explore and navigate the human experience from insight, wisdom, and lessons learned along the way. Today, I help aspiring spiritual entrepreneurs gain the confidence to share their gifts with the world. Welcome to the Happy Healing Shop podcast. I'm your host, Trang Pham Nguyen, and each week we'll dive into incredible stories of strength, resilience, and transformation. So, if you are ready for some serious breakthroughs, laughs and tears, and stories that will inspire you, you are in the right place, my friend. Let's get started.
Welcome back, my friend. It has been quite a while, so I'm so excited that you are here today because we are diving on a topic that is very close to me, one that is challenged my perceptions and opened my mind and has honestly humbled me. Of course, as my last episode had to do with travel, this one is another travel trip I made, and we are talking about the Middle East. And yes, I did go there. And here's the thing, I barely told anyone before I left. And why? Because I knew what kind of reactions I was going to get. Are you crazy? It's not safe. There's war right now. They could kidnap you. Why there? But deep down, I knew the Middle East wasn't only what we saw on TV and the media or online. I knew that there was so much more. So I decided to experience it myself, and it's been on my bucket list for a while. And this trip, I'm not surprised, but it completely changed how I see this part of the world. And stay with me until the end because that's where I'll reveal my biggest insight and takeaway, the one that I wish everyone knew about this region. So let's dive in. Here are the 11 lessons I learned from my most recent trip throughout the Middle East. Lesson number one, the heat there is no joke. I explored Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates or UAE, Jordan, Egypt, and Turkey. The rest, like Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Iraq, Iran, I'll have to save for next time. The flights were expensive and I also ran out of time. Let me just say this, I went in September, so do not go in the summer. There is a reason why it's low tourist season for most of these countries. We're talking 95 to 105 degrees at night. The kind of humidity where you step outside and within 2 seconds, your skin feels sticky. And so when people ask me, "Oh, how was your trip? How was it there?" The first thing that comes to my mind and blurts out of my mouth was, "It was so hot." Lesson number two, the Gulf countries there are so clean and so safe. This blew my mind, right? So I traveled to about maybe 60 countries now, and I can say this confidently that the Gulf, especially countries like UAE and Qatar, is cleaner and safer than most of the US and other countries I've been to. I could walk alone at night and not worry, or ride the metro. I didn't have to hide or death grip my phone, which is very common when I travel. I didn't realize how my body has been on guard in other countries and some parts of the US too, until I finally realized I could relax a little bit more here. And it reminded me that our bodies remember what safety feels like. Lesson number three, the locals are wealthy and are taken care of financially. One of the biggest shocks for me was seeing what a society looks like when everyone's basic needs are met. So if you ever wondered what universal basic income looks like in real life, this is it. In several Gulf countries, locals receive financial stipends and healthcare, the works. And the people actually working in service jobs there are mostly immigrants, many from India, the Philippines, and Africa. In the shopping malls, you'll see them working front and back of house in a cafe, at a restaurant, and the locals were the customers. I remember a lady in UAE, United Arab Emirates, telling me she even gets free healthcare, and she was Indian. However, she told me that because the locals are given a lot of money from their government, they don't work as hard in the office that she manages, because why would they need to? In addition to students in school, why would they need to study hard to get good grades? They don't have to deal with the pressure of getting good grades to get a good job to earn a lot of money to live. They already are financially set. I also noticed there were very little to no homeless people. It's a very different system from the West here on where I live, but it shows what happens when money isn't the main stressor for survival. It's fascinating and also complicated, and there's always trade offs. This was a reminder for me that wealth distribution changes a lot about how society can operate. Lesson number four, divine timing is real. So I put this intention out when I traveled for this trip of please send me people who can show me the truth about what the Middle East is like for the locals. I had no idea how it was going to happen. And let me say that the universe delivered. I met an Italian woman who lived in the United Arab Emirates for about 7 months doing translation work for oil companies. And she couldn't tell me a lot of the details, but she opened up about how their business isn't only about the money. There's a lot of politics that goes into it. I also learned that the men wrap their headscarves in different ways that signal their roles, whether they are a student, a businessman, or a farmer, and more. And the funny part is, I wore a fake wedding ring when I traveled. Turns out that they don't even wear wedding rings, which showed me how little I knew about the culture. And which reminded me that the rules you think apply everywhere don't. Lesson number 5, Egypt was chaotic. And it was a certain vibe. When I say vibe, I really mean it when I say chaotic. I had a friend that traveled there a few months before I did, and so she warned me about it. So if the Gulf countries are polished, I would say Egypt is that friend that's fun, semi unpredictable, who doesn't really follow the rules, and somehow their life still seems to work out. So chaotic, loud energy, people driving all over the place, motorcycles weaving in and out of traffic. It actually reminded me a lot of Vietnam. People cutting in lines was normal, and it was the cheapest country on this trip. So I went all out and treated myself to a spa, and I was able to get a Moroccan hammam or a Moroccan bath for about $25 US dollars, 1 hour massage at a spa, same price, about 25 US dollars. I also got my hair deep conditioned because it was so dried out from this trip. I left glowing, looking at myself in the mirror, saying, "Oh, hey, I forgot that's what Trang looked like. There she is again." I walked out feeling like a new person. And you kind of forget, or you're kind of reminded that how self care is important because it really makes you feel different from the inside and out. And you carry yourself differently as a result of it. And traffic brought me back to the chaos again and how the country runs. Lesson number 6, the country of Jordan. You have to go see it for yourself. You know that scene from Indiana Jones where he's riding through the Red Canyon to the Temple of Petra? And yes, it is that place. And let me tell you, Petra, Jordan is just as cool in real life as it looks on film. Another traveler and I were talking, and we both agreed that Jordan is one of the most underrated countries out there. It's rich in history and surprisingly relaxed. Unlike some of its neighbors in the Gulf countries, you'll see men and women hanging out together in cafes, sipping tea, and living life here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of walking, heat because it was the summer, and more stairs than I care to count, especially in their capital city, lots of hills. But the lack of crowds there, especially at Petra, made it feel more serene. And here's the thing though, Jordan's tourism has really suffered lately, not because of anything happening in Jordan, but because of the conflicts nearby. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it, unfortunately, that fear travels faster than the truth. Lesson number 7, the culture and modesty is very different here. So walking around, even late at night when I was trying to, I found myself wondering, where are all the women, right? So it turns out someone told me during the summer, most are indoors, working in the office or they're at shopping malls because it's just too hot to be out. And modesty here and how you dress is very normal. You cover up the shoulders and knees if so, like a t-shirt and pants is fine. And you cover your head as well if you're entering a mosque. When it comes to dating, the dating culture, it's not a public spectacle and there's a lot more of arranged marriages, right? So that's a whole entire other topic I can talk about based on what the Italian lady who worked in the Middle East told me. And also a Palestinian American I ran into told me about his experience as well. And so they were saying how here relationships are based on values and family. It's a lot more traditional. You're not on the apps or swiping away. So the dating process and love look very different. In the Gulf countries, men and women don't mingle together unless it's family. Like hooking up is not a common thing here. It does happen, but again, it's not common. And as a result, you also see less unwanted pregnancies. In the countries of Jordan and Turkey, it's more laid back. And again, you'll see both males and females hang out together at cafes and whatnot. If you're more family oriented and more traditional, then this place is probably more for you. Lesson number 8, it is safe and clean, but quiet. And so here's the trade off. In the Gulf, it's clean, safe, and luxurious, but not exactly lively compared to a lot of other cultures I've seen. There's no street music or music playing in the malls. There's no art everywhere or partner dancing. Hobbies and recreational activities like bowling, karaoke, etc. They weren't a thing here really, and it's not part of their culture. So, but there's really no crime or theft, but they're also all financially well off, so there's no need to steal either. The Italian woman who worked in the Middle East told me a local was telling her that when they were young and they traveled with their parents to the US and other countries, they saw the homeless and poverty. And now they know they want to stay and live in the Gulf countries. They told her, I'd rather stay here and be treated like a queen and make the man of the household, whether it's like my dad or husband, happy and safe because the world out there is scary. As I keep traveling, I noticed every country has trade offs or balance, security versus self expression. The more I travel, the more I see this. There's no country that's perfect for everyone. It's also not necessarily about which one's better. It's more about what you value most. For example, would you rather have total safety and financial stability or creative independence, or also have a culture where you can exchange ideas between different people, different genders? And it made me ask, what do I personally value the most? And you can change your answer because as you grow and develop as a human and soak in different thoughts, values, and belief systems as you go along in life, right? I grew up in a very traditional Vietnamese household. But if you asked 10-year-old me, I would have said yes. I probably would be fine living in this culture. But I changed and grew over time. So, my question for you is, what would you choose? There's no right answer, more so of what fits your soul at this stage of life. Lesson number 9: I prefer manners over religion. And here's a story that came up on my trip. On my flight home, a Catholic church group got in a conflict with another passenger. I grew up Catholic, so I'm kind of familiar with um, what it was like. And the way they treated that passenger was with a lot of attitude and honestly kind of rude. I was sitting right behind them, and that escalated things where it started becoming a verbal fight. And it was to the point where I was trying to push the button to call the flight attendant. And I remember thinking, it's one thing to know spiritual and religious teachings, and another to live them. In any type of group, sometimes there are rules or teachings that people memorize, whether it's quotes from the Bible, the Ten Commandments, codes of conduct. And for me, hypothetically, if I were to have kids, I'd rather teach them a culture of manners, kindness, cleaning up after themselves, and leaving a place the same or better when they found it, respect, over memorizing rules or verses from a book. Lesson number 10: not every trip or experience needs to be transformative. Now, this trip to Middle East wasn't like my previous one in South America, where I had more so of personal and spiritual insights. Check out episode 76 and 77, where I go more in depth about the reflections I learned there. Instead, this trip felt more like curiously investigative. Like I was a journalist collecting stories, seeing how societies work, and connecting the dots between economics, culture, and human behavior. I didn't have deep personal revelations, but instead I had clarity about a different part of the world. And that's just as powerful. This doesn't make it a bad trip, just different. Sometimes growth isn't fireworks, it can be just observation. And the realization I had was that you can't expect the same thing or experience on a trip when the land and people are so different. It's learning how other people live and realizing that the truth looks different depending on where you stand. And that's why I really want to share my personal experience with you. Lesson number 11, my biggest takeaway from this trip. Finally, here you have it. Despite what the media shows, the people here are actually quite peaceful. So many are living quietly, sipping tea. They don't really drink alcohol here, so you don't really see drunks. Um, they are financially well off in the Gulf countries. They have healthcare and petting stray cats in the streets of Istanbul, Turkey. Oh my goodness, it was such a joy being there, seeing how they treat their stray animals. In fact, in Turkey, there's a documentary called Kedi, Kedi, about how deeply loved the city's cats are here. I even went out dancing one night, and this huge, chunky cat just walked right onto the middle of the dance floor like it belonged there and laid down. And that to me says a lot about the heart of that country. So there you have it, my 11 biggest lessons from my trip to the Middle East. This trip didn't teach me about me, it taught me more about humanity. And it reminded me what I kind of already knew, that the truth isn't found in the headlines of the media. It's found in conversation and curiosity, to keep asking questions and to keep seeing things for yourself. And that's what travel is about, at least this trip for me. Now, I'm curious, what part of today's episode surprised you the most? I'd love to hear your reflections. Tag or message me on social media at the Happy Healing Shop. I read every one of your messages. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that follow button, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps more listeners find the show. And if you want to go deeper into your own healing discovery journey, head over to thehappyhealingshop.com, where we have resources, guides, and more waiting for you. Until we meet again, always remember to shine your light brightly and share your story, because you never know who it might help, inspire, or give hope to make a change in their own journey. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next time.